Thank you, Hillary, our permanent secretary, our financial secretary, and the Madam Chairperson for this morning's exercise. May I, despite your own salutatory remarks earlier, may I recognize, firstly, Your Excellency, Sir Edmund Lawrence, our Governor General, and also the Honorable Dr. Earl Assim Martin, our Deputy Prime Minister, and my other distinguished cabinet colleagues who are here. Also, the Honorable Curtis Martin, our Speaker for National Assembly, and the other members of Parliament who are here with us. And in particular, permit me to recognize all who are here at the head table, but in particular, I'd like to recognize Francois Clot, the Director of Latin America and the Caribbean region for the World Bank. Of course, Sir Dwight Venner, and there are some others who I don't know as yet, but I recognize you each, especially those of you who are, in fact, the representative partners of those who are involved in this important Caribbean Growth Forum. Of course, I would like to recognize, as the Financial Secretary did, our own Janet Harris, who is our alternate director at the World Bank for the Caribbean, for Canada, and for Ireland. And all of you, our distinguished persons who are here, permanent secretaries, ambassadors, etc. Good morning to each of you. In fact, I want to say that to those who have traveled to our federation specifically to participate in and contribute to today's launch, I do extend a very warm welcome to you. And to those whose ongoing business and professional obligations are rooted right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, I want to thank you also for being a part of today's deliberations. We are here today to launch the St. Kitts and Nevis chapter of the Caribbean Growth Forum. And this is important to us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's important to St. Kitts and Nevis because growth, the mechanisms by which we spur it, and the means by which we sustain it is a #1 priority for our people. Uppermost in our deliberations as a government is always our awareness of the relationship between a highly competitive investment climate and any nation's priority, in fact, the propensity for growth. And it is in light of this that we have pursued as non-negotiable priorities certain economic goals, key among them, of course, being debt reduction. St. Kitts Nevis has approached the challenge of debt reduction along dual tracks. First, by entering into in-depth, sustained, and ultimately successful negotiations with our creditors. And secondly, by using a small portion of our assets to create a special purpose vehicle capable of reducing our debt by roughly 1/2 within the space of just 1 year. And we did this, in fact, for 2 reasons. First, in order to create the type of fiscal space that every nation needs if it is to responsibly and effectively meet the social and economic needs of its people. And secondly, in order to ensure that the government occupied a smaller footprint within the St. Kitts Nevis financial sector, thereby freeing up banking resources for non-governmental interest with their own priorities and objectives. In other words, we took this approach to debt reduction as a means of encouraging and facilitating private sector growth. I want to emphasize that. As a result of our efforts, the banks that operate in the Federation are now highly liquid, and have at their disposal an abundance of resources ready and available to bring into fruition new and imaginative business ventures from our own private sector, ideas that are capable of meeting currently unmet needs within our Federation's social and economic space, while at the same time producing the kind of returns that private sector innovators both need and deserve. And so we as a government are vigilant about promoting policies and programs that promote growth. And it is a given that the private sector, by its very nature and purpose, both thrives on and welcomes growth. What the public and private sectors, both within St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as throughout the rest of the region, must repeatedly demonstrate, therefore, is that shared commitment to do all within our respective spheres of activity as public and private sectors to achieve this jointly shared and all-important goal, not merely to be able to cite positive macroeconomic statistics, but because of what, in the case of government, these statistics actually translate into in the lives of the men and women and children, real people whom regional governments were elected to serve. The Ministry of Finance and the World Bank have demonstrated an impressive level of cooperation and collaboration in order to bring this St. Kitts Nevis chapter of the Caribbean Growth Forum to fruition, ladies and gentlemen. And to all those whose insights, expertise, and vision were responsible for our being here today, I do extend sincere appreciation. And this type of collaboration is most important because with each passing millennium, century, and indeed decade, the interconnected nature of our planet becomes ever more pronounced as the global challenges of the past 5 years have so starkly demonstrated. In light of this, therefore, it is simply good sense for us to ensure that in both our responses to these global challenges, as well as the pursuit of our respective opportunities, we maintain these interrelated international dimensions as well. And this is why the Inter-American Development Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, the United Kingdom Agency for International Development, and the Canadian International Development Agency, being integral components of this undertaking, is so welcome and indeed so essential to its overall effectiveness. Of course, we give our thanks as well and appreciation to our own Caribbean Development Bank and our own central bank here in St. Kitts and Nevis for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union for their full support and cooperation. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we have identified various engines for growth, among them being the following. 1, tourism. 2, agriculture. 3, information technology. 4, financial services. 5, light manufacturing. And the small 6, I would say, is the services that we provide for tertiary level offshore education, for which St. Kitts and Nevis is becoming an important center. And as a result, we have put in place the kinds and levels of training and the type of infrastructural underpinning that would be vital to the competitive functioning of these sectors. Our traditional educational system, for example, has long been a plus for the Federation in light of the fact that for almost a half-century now, secondary education in our country has been both compulsory and free. Free in a way, but free nevertheless, I would say, for now. In addition, however, we have over the years dramatically expanded course offerings at the secondary and college levels as well, specifically in order to enhance our students' opportunities for training and for exposure. Over and beyond that, however, we have ensured that information technology constitutes an ever-increasing component of our students' skill set in light of the rapidly changing work environment beyond our shores, an environment of which in some ways almost every nation is a part, and within which almost every worker everywhere now has to compete. Beyond traditional school-based curricula, however, and beyond the enhancement of our population's IT capabilities, soft skills are of increasing importance in light of the international character of many of the investors, many of our employers, business partners, and others with whom our own people are increasingly transacting business, whether as joint venture partners, employees, consultants, are in some way other capacity. Throughout it all, however, we have repeatedly demonstrated our commitment to spur greater private sector involvement in this St. Kitts Nevis economy. We have gone to great lengths to eradicate many of the bureaucratic hurdles that some had suggested might be impediments to fuller participation in the economy. And with reference to the tourism or the agricultural sectors, for example, and with reference to the availability of land in particular, we can now point to the special purpose vehicle as a perfect mechanism for addressing these specific concerns. In light of this, therefore, we anticipate, we await, and we will welcome heightened private sector involvement in both these and other designated growth arenas. I mentioned earlier that light manufacturing is a priority area for my government. Indeed, in order to boost our competitiveness in this area, we have diligently pursued and successfully negotiated a partial scope agreement with Brazil in 2011. We've piggybacked on what was already allowed in CARICOM between Brazil and Guyana. And of course, in the area of financial services, we have ensured that we meet the internationally agreed upon standards pertaining to information sharing and transparency. To reiterate then, the banks in St. Kitts Nevis are highly liquid. Technical assistance, if needed, to bring an innovative idea to fruition is often available via multilateral or bilateral partners. And a range of government programs and policies have been carefully crafted and designed and implemented to facilitate the expansion of our private sector. It is therefore now the shared responsibility. It is the shared responsibility of the business and policy communities together to ensure that the confluence of all of these variables will result in the increased level of economic activity and the upward growth trajectory that would be in the best interest of the government, the best interest of the business community, the best interest, and most importantly, of the public at large. Permit me also at this point to commend the organizers of this event for their special efforts. Those special efforts to ensure that today's agenda was structured in such a manner as to facilitate maximum exchange and cross-pollination of ideas. The persons assembled here are well-equipped to provide valuable insights, well-equipped for observations and recommendations to be made, as St. Kitts and Nevis continues to insist on professionalism, insisting on efficiency, and competence being watchwords in our quest to ensure continued social stability undergirded by positive economic growth. Before closing, I must state that there is no denying the realities unique to small island states, whether they be in the Caribbean, in the Pacific, or elsewhere. And there is no denying the fact that these challenges can become obstacles, real obstacles to economic growth. For example, the fact that we are not a part of a massive landmass with an equally large population and the very markets that such national profiles often provide, or the communications and transportation challenges that arise when a nation is a part of an archipelago. We have worked very hard to counter this built-in impediment in St. Kitts and Nevis. However, both by investing heavily in communications technology, putting into the hands of every student in our high schools, every single student in our high schools, his own personal laptop computer, in order to attract and hold the type of investor that would expect no less, and by making airlift a key and outstanding feature of our competitive offerings. Our government is committed to ensure that we have what we call communication-based technology provided by the public sector to the communities that we are serving. I emphasize, therefore, that this is the 21st century. The global landscape is incredibly competitive, and it matters not how well one may be doing today or how hard one may have worked to advance to a particular level at any point in time. The international environment, it is fluid and it is dynamic. And so innovative, insightful analysis is going to be always needed. Indeed, this is why you are here today. This is why we're all here today. This is why we are here today. The challenges that small states face are vast, but opportunities are available in the Federation, and they are also compelling opportunities. And so, as Prime Minister of this tiny but stable member of the world community of democratic nations, I thank every single one of you for being here once again, for agreeing to be a part of this very important conversation. You are being asked to apply your respective areas of expertise and insights to the challenge of ensuring that St. Kitts and Nevis continues to be stable. I repeat that. To ensure that St. Kitts and Nevis continues to be stable. That St. Kitts and Nevis maintains that solid reputation that it has developed beyond our shores. And that for the men and women and children who live here, for the businesses that operate here, and for the government that I am honored to lead, St. Kitts and Nevis to be synonymous with possibilities, synonymous with opportunities, and with socio-political and economic growth. I do thank you. God bless you.